So what is AI? The easiest way for me to describe what AI is a smart software that can track what people do and then allow businesses to engage with those customers in a more customized fashion. So an example of this is, say I go into AutoTrader or excuse me, Amazon, and I shop for a coffee mug. And then I end up not buying it, and I go on Facebook, and all of a sudden, what am I seeing? Well, I'm seeing that exact coffee mug served to me in advertisements, or maybe I start to notice I'm getting coffee advertised to me, things of that nature. So that's AI knowing what someone's doing online and then allowing other businesses to target that individual based upon what they're doing. So how we relate this to the car business is, fortunately, Cox Automotive has a strategic position in the marketplace because 75% of all retail car transactions in the North American market touch one of our business units. And we are able to use that data to allow you as the dealer to participate in that strategy of marketing to these customers more effectively. And so why do we want to do this? Well, the biggest thing is it takes away the guesswork, right? I know salesmen and even myself personally, when I was in sales, I relied a lot on my instincts, right? We judge a book by its cover, we cherry pick, we take the path of least resistance. How often does a salesperson walk up to the desk and say, "Hey boss, I don't think I have a car deal today, but this guy wants to look at numbers." It's a matter of using that experience to make those conclusions, right? And we allow that to sway how we desk a deal or how much attention we give to a customer. It might even lot drop one guy out in the lot for another better looking up that just rolled in, right? But with AI, you actually have the knowledge, you have the facts. AI knows exactly how long this customer has been shopping online. It knows what cars they've looked at. It knows if they've done a trade evaluation. It knows a little bit about that customer and what they do for a living and how many kids they have. And we can use this to make those decisions in how we desk pencils or how much attention we might give one customer or another. It also doesn't sleep, right? It doesn't take long lunch breaks. It doesn't do smoke breaks out back and waste time in the day. It's constantly mining your data to bring opportunities to your attention as well as help you create additional opportunities. And so how does this work? Well, the Cliff Notes, the easy version of explaining this is basically you have a bunch of data in your CRM and a bunch of customers that you have some type of relationship with, whether it's an active customer, a previously sold customer, or service-only customer. We have their information, and when they are doing something online at one of our business units, whether it's AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, or if you're on a dealer.com website, we are going to know about it. Those business units then feed that data into your CRM, and it fires off tasking in a buying signal that will allow your salespeople to know when your customers are online doing something. And with that information, we can start to make some more strategic decisions and how we're engaging those opportunities. And so how do we do that, and kind of what is the power behind it and the goal, right? So the goal ultimately for me boils down to two things with AI. First of all, we should be using AI to increase all of your closing ratios, whether it's an internet lead or a phone lead or an unsold showroom visit. We can use AI to have better engagement with those opportunities. And then additionally, we want to be using the automotive intelligence tool to actually create additional opportunities. And so how do we do that? Kind of boils down to four different areas of the AI system. The first is buying signals. The buying signals is the key fundamental aspect that really distinguishes this tool from others, in the sense that the data is good, but it's useless if it's not engaging. So the buying signals will actually automatically be fired to your salespeople to prompt them to look at this customer and see what this customer is doing through the buying signal details. And we're going to be going through the details of all of these different aspects in the coming slides, so hang tight. The next aspect is customer intelligence. This is where we get a little peek behind the curtain of who you're dealing with as far as the individual, and based upon some public information that we can gather, and gives you an idea of who you're talking with and who you're working with. engagement strength actually has the system scoring what type of opportunity this is. How close is it to making a car deal? Are we moving towards a car deal or away from a car deal? And all of this is going to be happening automatically. And then the last area is sentiment analysis. And sentiment analysis breaks into two different categories. There's the sentiment summary and the intent summary. And the sentiment summary is going to score, and well, it's analyzing all of your written communication, your emails and your text messages that are sent through the system. And it's saying, is this a positive or a negative or a neutral type of a conversation? And then the intent area actually will tell you what's going on in those conversations and allow your managers to drill into those different types of conversations and see if we need to get involved. So the first thing that we talk about is buying signals, because it's the key point of the system, because if we don't engage with these light bulbs, we're not going to move the needle very much. So I'd really encourage you to have your team kind of embrace the fact that the light bulb equals money, right? I almost wish it was a dollar symbol, because that's really what it is. This is putting to the forefront all of the opportunities that your salespeople need to be reviewing. And this is going to be seen as an example here. This is on their tasking area, and for the salespeople or the managers in their tasking page. They'll see these buying signal tasks, which will prompt them to go into this customer's dashboard, look at the buying signal details, and figure out how we want to use that information. As we can see here on that dashboard, and we can see the task pending. Now, you'll also see these light bulbs throughout the CRM. Currently, you can see this in like the desk log. You can see the light bulbs in your appointments for the day. But soon, you're actually going to start seeing these buying signal indicators populate pretty much anywhere there's a customer list. So showroom visit activity, leads area, all that type of stuff. And one of the areas that I'm most excited about in the future is to have these buying signals populated on your showroom visit, your service drive appointment dashboard, because that's super cool to me, knowing that this customer is coming on into the store to have work done, and actually knowing that they're interested in getting a vehicle. I think that that's going to make that area much more productive and fruitful for us. So how do we use this information on active leads? There's so much to talk about here. We're going to be on the slide for a minute, but it's really boils down to knowing what they're not telling you, right? So as an example, let's say this is an internet lead and the vehicle of interest is on this 2018 Toyota Tacoma. Well, would it be valuable to know if that person is also looking at Ford trucks, or if they're also looking at new Tacomas? You can do that through the buying signal details. And that allows us to engage with this customer differently, right? Strategically, like the Amazon coffee mug example. We're going to be able to drill into this buying signal and see exactly what they are shopping for. And maybe this customer has been unresponsive, and we can change the message that we're sending. Coincidentally, send them some information on a new Tacoma lease, or here's a couple of F-150s that we took in recently on trades, thought you might be interested. And you're going to hear me say the word coincidentally a few times in this presentation, but it's really an important aspect of how we want to use this, how we want to use this system. The other side of it is like unsold showroom visits. Worst case scenario, when I was in e-commerce, the guy would come in, we take a deposit, says he's coming back in a couple of days for delivery, and then I'd get a duplicate lead on that guy from that night or the next day. He was back online. He actually submitted us another lead. Well, that allowed me to follow up and say, hey, I thought we were, good to go. I see you requested more information. Oh, I was just poking around. Well, that's only if they submit us a lead. Now you actually can tell if they do anything. So if we take a deposit from a customer on a Chevy truck, and they're coming in on Monday to take delivery, and I see that Mario's online shopping at Ford trucks over the weekend, I can proactively reach out to that customer and say, hey, just want to make sure we're good for Monday. Do you have any additional questions? Well, actually started looking at the Ford down the street and yada, yada, yada. Well, that allows us to engage that situation, right? We know that objection. We can overcome, and rebuild value in our brand and reaffirm that appointment for delivery on Monday, instead of finding out, 15 minutes after Mario was supposed to show up. We follow up with them, and he says, I actually got a Ford, over the weekend. And hey, how do I get my deposit refunded, right? Really, really valuable to know. Additionally, we get all these leads without vehicles of interest, whether it's just a normal internet lead, or maybe a KBB ICO lead where it's just a customer wanting to sell us a vehicle. We can use these buying signals to drill into that information and see, are they actually shopping for a vehicle, or if what else are they looking at. It can allow us to, again, strategically follow up with this customer and provide different content to increase our contact percentages, and ultimately move the needle on our closing ratio. One of the most exciting things for me about AI is knowing if they have a trade. There was nothing worse when I was desking a deal to think that we were good to go. We had hashed out, all the details of the payments and the down payments, and we were on our fifth pencil, and we were getting down to the couple $100 here or there, and then they throw in the trade, right? I would literally say like, oh, this guy read the book, right? Negotiate the price of the car first and then throw in the trade. Well, with AI, you can actually know if this customer has done a trade appraisal on Kelley Blue Book. So here's a little peek into the customer detail, or the buying signal details area. We're going to be going through in detail in a couple of slides, but this is where we can see that information being displayed. Additionally, you can click on this link and literally see the Kelley Blue Book trade page that this customer created based upon all the information that they entered into the system. So when this guy tries us on for 25 grand, we can know he knows that's too high. Or maybe we can say, or we know that this customer selected excellent condition, and we know this car is in excellent condition. So we can be prepared to maybe have to do an over allowance. So maybe we hold back $500 that, on our discount initially to over allow on this trade value. But we can also use that to know in advance if we can anticipate this trade coming at us towards the end. So pretty fun. Previously sold customers are obviously really important. Most stores are pretty good at doing their long-term follow-up with sold customers. And why do we do that? Well, it's because it's easier to sell a previously, sold customer. We have a relationship with them. It's like going on a second date, right? We already know we like each other. We kind of know, what we're about. It's a little bit easier the second time around. So, your sold process might look something like this, where we're going to follow up the first couple of days, make sure everything's okay, talk about the survey. Maybe a couple of weeks we follow up, to talk about maybe asking for a referral, so on and so forth. But then we're going to peel back, right? We're going to maybe do a 1-year call or automated emails. We're going to follow up on an anniversary or birthday. We're not going to be super engaging this customer, right? So this customer that we sold many years ago, we're just hoping to catch them in their next buying cycle with these annual phone calls, or just keeping our name and our face in front of them, right? So they think about us in the future. But how powerful would it be to know when this customer actually goes back online and shopping for a car? Super powerful, right? It actually motivates the salesperson to pick up the phone and make that phone call. I was notorious for, I'll raise my hand and say I was awful at my sold follow-up. I should have been better. I did not do what I currently preach, right? But it is important. And if I had this tool, I certainly would have been engaging my customers. If I sold Johnny a car 4 years ago, and I see that Johnny's online shopping for a vehicle, I'm definitely going to pick up the phone and call Johnny, because the worst thing as a salesperson is making that 4-year phone call and finding out that they bought a car 3 months ago, right? They just never submitted us a lead because they were interested in a Honda this time, and we sell Toyotas, and they didn't want to have to deal with telling us that they wanted a Toyota, right? But they didn't know that we had just taken in a Toyota just like that vehicle with a better warranty because it was certified pre-owned. We never got that opportunity. With Automotive Intelligence, you will. Additionally, what about the guy that you sell this month, right? How motivated, are you as a salesperson or as your sales team is to follow up with this customer in like 3 months, right? What's the likelihood that customer is going to be buying a car in 3 months? Probably pretty low. And in fact, if you're selling a used car, it's probably just going to land you in a heat situation trying to talk about something that's wrong with the vehicle. Versus if AI says this guy's back online shopping for a vehicle, we can engage that customer. Maybe this guy has a kid that's turning 16, right? And he's starting to shop around. We would never know that without Automotive Intelligence. We would just make our 1-year phone call and find out that we missed out on the opportunity and selling him a cheap, $8,000 Hyundai, right? Because he doesn't know we have that. He's already submitted a lead to another dealership down the road because that's the one he stumbled across on Auto Trader. So use these buying signals to engage your sold customers in that coincidental fashion based on the information you're seeing that they're doing online. Lost customers are another story, right? These are usually pretty difficult to follow up with, pretty unmotivating as a salesperson to do long-term lost follow-up. Most dealerships that are executing this at all typically have a BDC department that are, dialing for dollars out of these opportunities, but it's a huge part of your data. When you think about what is your overall closing ratio, well, you're probably, 10-ish, hopefully, percent, somewhere around in there on e-commerce, and 25, 30% on your phone leads, and 30, 40% maybe and on your walk-in leads. Overall, the closing ratio is probably around 25%. That means 75% of your database is currently in a previously marked lost status, right? And we might be firing some type of process like this where, we're sending out some automated emails. Maybe you're using the campaign tool to, to continue to market to these customers, again, just keeping our name and our brand in front of them, hopefully when they're ready next time. Or maybe you have a 30-month phone call set up to try to catch this customer in the right next buying cycle. Maybe they lease their car. With AI, there's no guesswork. You know when this customer goes back online. This customer that we marked as a lost internet lead a year ago is back online shopping for a vehicle, and we can engage them. Just wanted to follow up and see if you ever end up getting a truck, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Great. What are you looking for this time? So on and so forth. And we start a new opportunity. We can turn these lost opportunities into car deals, and we can increase our closing ratio in doing so. And what about leads that we pay for multiple times, right? If you have a 10% closing ratio on e-commerce, that means you don't sell 90% of the leads that you pay for. How much money are you spending on those 90% of your leads? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to pay for those leads once and then be able to retarget them forever, right? As long as we have that data, we will know when all of these lost customers go back online shopping for a vehicle, whether it's 6 months from now or 2 years from now. You'll be able to reach out to them and try and hopefully steal that opportunity from another dealership. So here's the details. Here's where we get started into the meat and potatoes of this course instead of just the appetizer. I'm going to stop teasing you and show you how this works. So we're looking at a customer dashboard here. We see a buying signals populated at the top. That would have also been, of course, the salesperson would have seen that in their tasking page, which would have brought them here. And when they complete this, what they're going to do is they're going to go down to the buying signal banner. Now, the buying signal banner is going to show just a couple little pieces of details here, just to kind of summarize what we're looking at. But we're actually going to click into this banner, and that's where all the data is. And so what we're looking at here is all the details of where this buying signal is coming from. And we're going to spend a couple of minutes going through this. The first area is the buying signal area. I also call it the market level area. This is kind of, think of it as the sales funnel. So this customer moves from not in market to not shopping to browsing to actively shopping, and then ultimately, hopefully, ready to buy. And as those categories increase, we probably want to be engaging with that customer differently. In fact, salespeople, I would recommend, typically aren't going to be engaging with these customers until they hit that actively shopping or ready to buy category. The next area is the interests area. This is pretty much a summary of what the automotive intelligence data has been collected. So as an example, based off of everything that this customer is doing online, AI believes that he's going to be interested in a 2500 Sierra. And you can see here over to the right, the likelihood of this information being accurate increases as the more data we get. So it moves from likely to very likely to extremely likely, along somewhat correlated with the browsing, actively shopping, ready to buy statuses. That's important to remember because it's pretty cool. What we've seen over the last couple of years with this tool is once we hit extremely likely and ready to buy, this tool has a 90% accuracy, over 90%, in predicting the make of the vehicle that the customer ends up purchasing. and also over 50% accuracy in predicting the exact model that the customer ends up purchasing. So it becomes very accurate information that, again, we can use to figure out how to engage the customer. And so where this is all driven from is the details. So here is where you actually get to see all of the cars and all of the websites that Auto Trader or Kelley Blue Book or dealer.com, any inventory that this customer looked at. And so you can see all the different vehicles they're looking at. This is where you would tell if they went on KBB and did a trade evaluation. You could drill into that and see that information. But for you internet managers out there and your salespeople, wouldn't it be nice to know when you could actually probably get a hold of this customer? Well, what do you think about using the time that they are online shopping for a vehicle? So if you look at this and they're consistently online in the early afternoon or the morning or the evening, call them at that time, right? If the guy's online every night at 9 o'clock, why are we calling him at 10 o'clock in the morning for the last week? Let's shift that strategy. Let's send an email and a text message at that time, because it's all about making contact, right? And if we can't make contact, then we have no chance of selling a vehicle, particularly for internet leads, right? And after all of that, if we don't have an active lead, then we need to create a lead. So to be clear, if you already have an active lead, this add lead button is not going to populate here. But if it's a previously sold customer, or if it's a previously lost customer, or if it's a service customer, and we have a buying signal on them, we want to create a lead through this. And this becomes really important, because when we create a lead, we are going to be able to put this customer into the correct process. These processes were recently rebuilt in mid-November. The new processes are tagged 2020. So if your store doesn't have these 2020 processes in your CRM, please reach out to your performance manager and they can show you, what these new processes are, and you can choose to implement them or not. They're also customizable, but you can see that they're built in a little bit different way. So as a dealership, you guys can decide, when we create a lead, do we want that tasking to fall to the salesperson? If our sales team is a bit disengaged and we want the system to do a little bit more of the work, we have more of an automated system that relies more heavily on automated emails. Or those of you that are fortunate to have a BDC department, do you want your BD agents to be tasked when we are firing a lead? And that also changes managerial review and alerting and all of that type of stuff. Additionally, with these new processes comes a dozen new templates that you can use as well, some phone scripts to take advantage of. But it's important you have a conversation with your salespeople on how to use these processes, right? So when we're creating a lead and it's a previously lost customer, then we'd want to put that into the actively shopping or ready to buy process. But if it's a previously sold customer, we probably want to use the previously sold process, in my opinion, right? Those are really the distinctions. Is it a previously sold customer or isn't a previously sold? Because if it's a previously sold customer, I want to treat that a little bit differently than somebody that we don't have that relationship with. And so we built those processes a little bit differently, but have that conversation and take advantage of those if you'd like. And so once we click add lead, we choose that process. Now we've actually created an opportunity that we would not have had without Automotive Intelligence. And you can see it generated here as an active lead, and it's tagged AI buying signals as the source. And that becomes really important when we're looking at your reporting and figuring out how we can monitor your team's performance. So the more leads we create, the more data we're going to have to determine how is your team engaging with the system and what type of opportunities are we creating. The missing piece of the puzzle with like a lot of things is training. It's vitally important that we train everyone to know how to engage with these opportunities. The main goal is don't be creepy. Okay, it's got to be a coincidental follow-up. It really doesn't change the word tracking a whole lot from your previously sold customers. You're just gonna, like your previously sold follow-up process. That conversation is probably going to be pretty similar to what you're doing now. You're just going to know when to have that conversation and have it be productive, right? But we don't want to call them out. We don't want to say, hey, I saw you did a trade appraisal. You're thinking about getting rid of that truck, or hey, I thought you said you bought something. Why are you still shopping for a car? Things like that are probably not going to be received well. I would encourage you to role play through these different situations. And again, really all you need to practice is How do we follow up with a previously lost customer, previously sold customer, a service only customer, or a customer that we have an active lead on that we have more data on? So you know, it's very going to be similar situations, but we're going to want to change maybe the tenacity or the tone or the content a little bit based upon those different types of relationships we have with them. If you have a third-party company that does phone training for you, I would recommend, you know, reaching out to them and seeing if, you know, let them know that you have this tool and see if they can provide you some outbound phone training regarding how to engage these types of customers. And then ultimately, we did offer some scripts to take advantage of in the new 2020 processes. But if you have an idea of how you want your salespeople or the team to approach these opportunities, write a phone script. You can do that right in your template builder, save it as a phone script. You can then attach that phone script to the phone task within the process. And, you know, the salespeople will have that direction and you can load their lips. If you need help building the phone script or tying that to tasking, your performance manager can assist you in doing that. So the next portion of the features of automotive intelligence is customer intelligence. So we have that buying signal fire. We're going to go into the customer dashboard, but instead of clicking on buying signals, we're going to drill into the customer intelligence data. Now, this is all public information. It is a bit of a Big Brother-esque feel, and the good news is it is a granular permission. So if you don't want some of your team members to be able to see this information, you can toggle that on and off using the profile manager. But this is going to allow your salespeople or your managers to get a peek behind the curtain of who you're talking to. What I mean by that is you can see occupation, income levels, educational levels, marital status, home ownership status, how many kids they have, how old their kids are, if they usually lease their vehicles or finance their vehicles, what brands of cars do they own, have owned, things of that nature. Now, I would encourage you to take this a bit with a grain of salt and for educational purposes only. I would not be using their income level on this report to fill out a credit application by any means, but it does allow you to be a bit of a social chameleon, right? A good salesperson typically is, you know, it adjusts how they talk and how they interact with customers based upon kind of what that customer is about, right? We judge a book by its cover. We're going to talk to a neurosurgeon differently than somebody working at McDonald's, right? We change the verbiage we use and so on and so forth. But the one thing I really like about this aspect is the ability it gives you to maybe build a little bit of rapport that you wouldn't have been able to do so previously. And a good example of that is if I see in the customer intelligence that they have a couple of young children, maybe I mention that, you know, my daughter's really loving Elf on the Shelf this year. And, you know, it's the first year she's really gone into it. She's 3.5. And every day she wakes up and is so excited to go find Elfie. And, you know, all of a sudden we're talking about kids, we're best friends, we're setting an appointment and hopefully selling a car. So it's pretty cool if used correctly. And like the other things we've talked about, got to train, got to have the conversations with the team on how to use this data appropriately so we don't get in trouble with the customer. So the next area is engagement strength. Still on the customer dashboard, a little bit lower down past the buying signals, the active and lead data down in the lower left-hand corner here. It's kind of hidden, but it's going to show you what your engagement strength is. And it's the more bars you have, the better you're doing. It's kind of like your cell phone reception. And how that's built is high, medium, low, and low. You can probably imagine high engagement's a good thing. High engagement means this is probably going to be a car deal. You are moving towards selling a car. But then it also is going to show us, you know, medium high, where we have engagement and we're moving towards a vehicle or a purchase. Medium low is moving the wrong direction. And the power of this is it allows your sales team to prioritize what they do. What I mean by that is on their tasking page, you're actually able to sort tasks by engagement strength. So in this example, it's actually sorted by age, but I wanted to show the different levels of engagement here. So I could click on engagement strength and it's going to resort my tasks and show me my tasks that are associated with my customers that are most engaged. So God forbid I don't have enough time in the day to do all my tasks. Maybe it's busy Saturday. I can sort by engagement, and at least I make sure that I connect with those customers that are closest to doing a car deal, and maybe I don't have time to hit the other ones. as a manager, maybe I reverse it. Maybe I look at the ones that are low engagement and drill and figure out, why is that? What are we doing? Why is this customer not engaging with us anymore? So it becomes really powerful in being able to prioritize the tasking that way.